Can't hear.
What?
Nobody
Now
can.
we can hear you. I can hear. Can anyone else hear?
I can hear, but it's very faint.
Was that better?
Yes, we could hear parts of it.
So if you could hear me, he was talking about the protection pieces that he wears, and that all First Nations in Coast Salish wear is the pieces that protect the heart, because he's speaking from the heart, and the headband protects the words that come out of his mouth, and that's what he was talking about, was the protection pieces that he wears when he does welcomes.
Oh, that's very meaningful. Well, thank you so much, Darwin, for conducting our land acknowledgement. I hope everyone can take this moment to reflect on the history behind our land and our own actions that we take in our everyday lives. Be sure that we're deconstructing the cycle of colonialism. It is important when we take climate action that is in a just and intersectional manner, and that it promotes climate justice.
Hajka, everyone.
Right.
Okay. These forests are a part of BC's infrastructure. Their resistance to fire, ability to intercept and store water, high carbon storage, and essential habitats for animals protect the environment and the balance we live in. If we cut down too many old-growth forests, Canada will not be able to meet its commitment under the Paris Accord.
Yes, so the logging of most our old-growth forests throughout the years in our province has led to a decrease in biodiversity. We are not seeing adequate balance between forests and the economy when acres of old-growth forests are being logged without an ounce of care. Sadly, we are now left with only 1% of BC's old-growth forests remaining. So this is why we're organizing this strike today.
Many of you are aware of the situation regarding the preservation of Fairy Creek that is happening right now. This strike is in support of all old-growth forests, not necessarily Fairy Creek. However, we would like to acknowledge that the situation at Fairy Creek is complex, and we would also like to respect the sovereignty of Indigenous peoples' right to own their land, while also acknowledging that the perspective of the Indigenous people are not homologous, and there are many elders and youth who support the blockade.
Yes, of course. So, the government of British Columbia announced their Old Growth Strategic Review, whose report came out with 14 suggestions for land management in BC. John Horgan later announced that the NDP had accepted this report. Some of the points that the BC NDP has committed to include, for example, point 2, declare conservation of ecosystem, health, and biodiversity of British Columbia's forests as an overarching priority to enact legislation that legally establishes these priorities for all sectors. Point 4, adopt a more inclusive and stable governance model that gives local communities and stakeholders a greater role in forest management decisions that affect them. And last point, point 10, update the targets for retention and management of old and ancient forests. So we are here today to call on the BC government, politicians, and residents to immediately and comprehensively adopt these 14 goals as promised, and to preserve BC's last old-growth forests. This is our most urgent ask. Our ancient forest sanctuaries must be preserved.
The strike today will be in 3 parts. Starting off, we have speakers who are here to continue to build on the importance of old-growth forests and what we can do to save them. Then we will move to a series of videos with multiple perspectives and give everyone a chance to have lunch. Finally, we will end with a letter writing workshop to encourage you to express your own personal narrative regarding the preservation of our ancient forests.
Okay, So our agenda today encompasses multiple different events and speakers. We start off with our land acknowledgement. Next, we're going to have a speech by Bryony Penn, and we are going to listen to a speech and a song provided to us by Anne Mortefi. We will after have a speech by Bobby Arbeth and Vicky Husband, and then we will listen to a song by Bob Bosson, and finally hear our very important youth speaker, Talia. Then we will be giving you guys a chance to go and have lunch, take a break. At the same time, we'll be showing videos that we have created. So we hope that you guys enjoyed that. And then we really, really encourage you to stay for our last and final part, which is the letter writing workshop, where we're gonna divide you all in breakout rooms and help you write your own letters to John Horgan and Catherine Conroy. Okay, yes. Without further ado, let's move to our first speaker. She has been an environmentalist since a very young age, a long protector of BC's wildlife. Bryony Penn is a writer, artist, environmentalist, and activist with a PhD in geography from the University of Edinburgh and with a PhD in land conservancy of British Columbia. She knows a lot behind the impact of logging on our land and on our communities and ecosystems. Allow me to introduce our next speaker, Bryony Penn.
Yeah. Hi everybody, and I feel so honored to be invited by you all. I know how hard you've been working, so I hope I can bring something to all of you who are watching out there. A little bit of data. And Haichka to Darwin and Florence, speaking from heart and head, and I am going to be speaking from Wasanich territory. And it's really the land that has given me the incentive and drive to learn as much as I can, both from elders and Western science, to try and provide the arguments that should be going to government to make better decisions for all of our futures. And I just wanted to take you all back to a time way before you were born. And it was the 1992 Biodiversity Summit. And it was at this summit that really the world had made a commitment to protect the biological diversity of the planet. And what many of you might not know is that British Columbia was one of the first government bodies to actually sign that. Even before Canada, British Columbia was signing that declaration. And one of the things that came out of Rio was that we needed to protect biodiversity, and one of the biggest threats was climate change. And so people were really putting their focus both on the role of old growth forests, not just for protecting wildlife and water and complex cycling systems, but its role in climate change. And so we jump forward to 2007, where there was another climate change conference. And at that conference, the president of Indonesia stood up and said, what this world needs is more sinks and less emissions. And what he was speaking to is the two important parts of the problem with climate change. And over the last 20 years, 30 years, we've been ignoring, well, both the parts of the equation, but especially the part of the equation that is the emissions coming from logging and the fact that we're losing our sink. So every time we cut down forests, we are not only putting emissions into the air, but we are losing our sink. So it's a double-edged sword, essentially. We're cutting both ways, both in our sinks and in increasing our emissions. So one of the things that came out also in 2007 was a gathering of a lot of different scientists who had been really looking into the role of old growth forests into climate change, and how these forests actually sequestered carbon, the role of British Columbia's forests in a global context, and how that actually all worked. So we had wonderful scientists like Suzanne Simard describing these interconnections between fungi and these mycorrhizal roots and the trees and the shrubs and all the different understories of a forest, and how these old growth forests were just, in fact, the most important sequesters and stores of carbon in the world and the planet. So over 1,000 tons of carbon, just carbon alone, were stored in a hectare of old growth. So when they started doing the summations of carbon budgets, Canada at the time had decided, no, we're not even going to count for emissions coming from logging, and we're not going to count for what's our sink net benefit here. So all these kinds of important bits of information were getting left out of international conversations. And it's only been in the last few years that they've actually been realizing, even though it's been pointed out by scientists, that emissions coming from the forest sector, and that's primarily in these old growth logging areas because that's where the emissions are highest, have accounted for more emissions than all the other sectors together. So we could be working on our transportation and working on our fossil fuel emissions and all these other sectors, but if we haven't been taking care of our sinks and we haven't been taking care of the emissions coming out of our forests, we've missed half the problem. And when you start adding in things like fire that's exacerbated by poor forestry management and clear cuts and slash burning that moves through these dried out areas because of the slash burning, our emissions are going through the roof because of this poorly managed forest sector. So I think that when we start thinking about why we need to protect old growth forests, we need to realize that British Columbia is not just important for British Columbia. British Columbia is important for the world. Think of all the temperate rainforests that have disappeared in the last 200-300 years from colonization and urbanization. And now we're down to our last little areas. We've got the potential to try and restore some of the areas and leave even our second growth forests continuing to sequester carbon. And we're not doing it. And even though these 14 recommendations have come out, and I think we'll be speaking about that later, but we're not seeing it on the ground. So I think that the voices of the youth are to defy some of these myths that are out there. One, that this is a new problem. People have been warning, Canadian scientists have been warning about the role of logging on climate and on biodiversity since I went back and looked at a document in 1975 that was called the Conference on Climatic Change. And that was scientists across Canada saying, this is a problem. So feel very strong and confident in saying that it is 2 or 3 generations that you've been delaying on this. And as far as the importance of biodiversity, we have so many species that are so unique to British Columbia, that are part of these major prey predator systems that are all reliant on old growth, whether it's marbled murrelets nesting in old growth, or whether it's the caribou relying on the lichens that are, developing on older forests in their habitat. These are essential habitat for wildlife that is also of global stature, not just something that we should be worrying about in our own little backyards. It is something that the world is looking at. So I think that's my 5 minutes. I hope that's given you some data and some confidence. Thanks for doing it.
Thank you, Bryony Penn, for that mesmerizing breakdown of just why old growth forests are so important. I know a lot of things that you said resonated with the people present on this call today. Our next speaker is a land conservationist, environmentalist, and extremely talented composer and musician. The recipient of the Order of Canada, Anne Morphy, has used her music to help many causes and has personally played a hand in conserving BC's precious wildlife and old growth forests. Anne Morphy is here to talk today but she also recorded a video especially for our strike.
Okay, so we're gonna show you guys the video. Yes.
Hi, I'm Anne Mortefi. I'm standing at the foot of a 600, 700, 800-year-old Douglas fir that I adore. I come here often and just sit and read or meditate, think. This land was up for clear cut not that long ago, and the only people bidding to buy this 160 acres were clear-cut loggers. And 3 of my neighbors and I got together and we just said, we can't let this happen. What we did, we put in an offer. Somehow we got the company to sell it to us without any collateral, without almost no down payment at all. And that started a long process of rezoning and finding people who wanted to live here. We now have 15 home sites. We've saved 96% of the land. And on 4% of the land, we have the roads, gardens, and home sites of the people who steward this property. These are some of the ancient trees that were on the property. There's 11 of them left after they logged, I guess 80 years ago, and there was a big fire came through here. You can see where this fellow was burned. Magnificent. For me, these ancient forests they carry the pulse of the earth. These are the cathedrals that were given to us. They're ancient, they're wise, they carry a pulse, they carry an energy that is unlike anywhere else on earth when you're near one of these great ones. I believe they are here to teach us so many things that we have forgotten how to listen to. We're living in such strange times, and I just wanted to put my 2 cents forward to say that this pandemic we're going through, I feel it's one of those statements of as within, so without, as without, so within, that this virus is showing us that we are the virus on the planet, that we're doing to the planet what we fear the virus will do to us. We're eating up, gobbling up, creating dishealth, dis-ease on the planet because we can't stop ourselves. We're indulgent and we can't help it. We have to evolve. I think we're ready for a deep emotional, spiritual revolution, and it's long overdue. I grew up in the 60s, so we were fighting for civil rights, we were fighting for the end of Vietnam, we were fighting for the forests, we were fighting for the whales. I was involved in Greenpeace for the whales, and here we are again, still. People I worked with back then, we're still fighting. So for those of you who are there, this is our moment. This is our moment. We've made a lot of strides since the 60s. It doesn't look like it, but we have. And as our energy rises and we do what we can do, we're going to see big changes. I'm very excited for us. And yes, it feels hopeless at times, but it is not hopeless. And these ancient ones, they can give us the courage to keep going. We can change the way we log. We can change the way we live in the forests. So, thank you for having me be a part of this incredible movement.
Okay, guys, that was Anne Mortefi's amazing video. I found it very hopeful, even though it's quite heartbreaking to see how we're still going through the same things as such a long time ago. She recorded a song specifically for a rally, just because singing over Zoom is kind of complicated, and she filmed that in the woods. So the song is called We Are a Tribe, And I encourage you to all close your eyes in order to truly feel the emotion and melody of the music.
So here I am in our woods, singing one of my favorite songs, because I believe this is true. We are a tribe awakening. We are a tribe awakening, listening to the rhythm of Mother Earth. We are a tribe awakening, listening to the heartbeat of a new birth. Earth save ooh, Earth it's you. We're listening to the rhythm of a heartbeat. Earth it's you and it is me. We're listening to the rhythm of a heartbeat. Oh. For the love of the air, the love of the rain, for the love of the forests and the love of the plains, for the love of the soil, the heart of the land, for the love of our home, we are taking a stand. We are a tribe awakening, listening to the rhythm of Mother Earth. We are a tribe awakening, listening to the heartbeat of a new birth. For the love of the birds, the love of the breeze, for the love of the whales, the fish of the seas, for the love of the animals, we reach out a hand. For the love of our home, we are taking a stand. We are a tribe awakening, listening to the rhythm of Mother Earth. We are a tribe awakening, listening to the heartbeat of a new birth. Earth, it's you. Earth, it is me. We're listening to the rhythm of a heartbeat. Earth, it's you. Earth, it is me. We're listening to the rhythm of a heartbeat. We're listening to the rhythm of a heartbeat. We're listening to the rhythm of a
I hope you all enjoyed Anne Mortifee's song as much as I did. Our next speaker has been fighting to save the forests of British Columbia for over 40 years and has watched them perish piece by piece. A recipient of the Order of...
Make it.
Pardon me?
He can't come.
I know, yeah.
Oh, okay. Go.
A recipient of the Order of Canada and the Order of British Columbia, Vicky Husband is here to talk to us about the government and what it takes to make a change and her path with activism throughout the years.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I wondered, I didn't think Bobby Arbus had worked for 40 years either, but I have. And the forest, what I call the ancient forest, because I don't call it old growth because the government has bastardized that term and included every little stunted tree in that and said, oh, we've got a lot when we only have 1% left. So we've only protected around 5.5% on Vancouver Island and maybe 1% of the old growth Douglas fir. So we are really far behind. And I think my message really, and my thank you goes to Dawson and Florence, who've been keepers of the land for generations. And we need to take on that struggle as well. I always say, stand up for what you believe in. And we've got to stand up for our forests. We've got to fight the government. Unfortunately, the government is not on our side. It is not protecting the public interest. It is not protecting our ancient forests. And this is our last stand for BC's ancient forest. When they're gone, they're gone. We won't see them again. This is the issue. The tree farms and plantations are not forests. They're not biodiverse. So this is our last stand. And it's unfortunate for me to say this. I've worked with and against governments for 40 years. But this one, and I call it the Horgan government, and I call it Horgan and his cabal, which is his group of insiders that are not elected. And all they are interested in is, as I would say it, they call it, investment into whether it's destruction of our forest, destruction of the Peace River at Site C, whether the northeast of BC with the fracking. It's all about destruction, and it's all about taking the wrong kind of stand for climate and our future. So this is what we have to do. I think we have to broaden our tent. We've got to pick up allies from everywhere. Other activists that I'm working with, they are working closely with the COVID people and saying zero COVID is where we need to go if we're going to protect our society into the future, which the government is also not doing. You know, they're starting with some closures, but this is a bit late. And we look at Nova Scotia and the Atlantic provinces who've taken the right stand. So this is our opportunity. And I'm so glad to speak to younger people because, you know, I'm 80. I'm not going to go on forever. You have to pick up the ball and run with it because we don't have a choice now. It's now or never. And Horgan did promise that he was going to act on that old growth report. Well, he hasn't. And I don't think he intends to. Every day we are losing forests. So what I say, delay is destruction. So we need to act now. And I really support the people at Fairy Creek, and I support them at Kaikous and Upper Walbron and wherever. And there are many other ways to move forward. Not everybody needs to be at a blockade, other avenues and finding allies, maybe among the people, the zero COVID people. We in the past have worked with churches, we've worked with First Nations, we've worked with people right across the landscape. And I think the massive uprising that needs to happen to save our forests is starting with you and Fairy Creek. So we hope that this is the spark that really does it. You know, it's tough, but we can do it. You know, and I can't remember Margaret Mead's exact words, but it was always, as she said, it's a small group of people who starts this going. And you can make a difference, and all of you in this room and on the screen and beyond are going to make a difference. It's your world, it's your future. It's not so much mine anymore, but it's yours. And I'm really proud of all of you taking this on. And go on your strike for the ancient forest, which is what we should call it, because this is what we have. And this is so important to us and to the world. So that's my major message. It's always, and there's hope. And I loved Anne Mortifee saying that too, that we have hope and we can move forward. So I don't think I'm not going to take more time, but I really appreciate you. I'm thrilled that you're doing this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vicki, and thank you for all your actions throughout the years. You were a great help to us, and it's very, very meaningful that you say this today. Hopefully, we can all act and take change the way you do. So now we are going to show Bob Boston's video. So Bob Boston is a renowned Canadian songwriter. He led the String Band, a popular Canadian folk band. He wrote numerous folk songs, but also some asking for meaningful actions and change, such as his song Sulphur Passage that we're going to show today. Now retired, Bob still focuses on making the world a better place through speeches and collaborating music videos. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it today, but he asked us to play his song. So we're going to play Sulphur Passage, and it's about the Clayoquot sound and what that has, like, as you guys know, a pretty big history behind old growth logging and actions. So yeah, enjoy.
No Pasaran,
No
Eshquit River.
Pasaran, Clayoquot
No
River.
Pasaran,
No
Vargas
Pasaran.
Island.
Come, you bold men of Clayoquot, come, you bold women. There is a fire burning on the mountain, the sting of smoke blown in the wind.
Hear the blast of the whistle, hear the snarl of the chain.
Hear the cracking in the heartwood, hear it again and again and again. No Pasaran, Meeting River.
No Pasaran, Clayoquot River.
No Pasaran, Sulphur Passage.
There's a valley torn asunder, there's a mountain stripped of bone. Grove of spruce, stand of cedar, the ancient garden, sacked and burned.
Hear the blast of the whistle, hear the snarl of the chain. Hear the crack in the hardwood, hear it again and again. No Pasaran, Meeting River. No Pasaran, Clayoquot River. No Pasaran, Sulphur Passage.
Come, you bold men of Clayoquot, come, you bold women. There is a cry deep within the forest, hear the whisper in the wind.
Hear the breath in the cedar, sighing in the slough. The beating deep within the forest, the grouse, the thrush, the great horned owl. We'll stand with these cedars, stand in these balsam groves. Stand with the hare and the cougar, the otter, like a tree by the water, we shall not move.
No Pasaran,
Meeting River,
no Pasaran,
Clayoquot River.
no Pasaran, Sulphur Passage.
Oh, come, you bold men of Clayoquot, come, you bold women. There's a fire burning on the mountain, the sting of smoke blown in the wind.
Hear the blast of the whistle, hear the snarl of the chain. Hear the cracking in the heartwood, hear it again and again and again.
No Pasaran, Meeting River.
No Pasaran, Clayoquot River.
No Pasaran, Flores Island. No Pasaran,
Vargas Island. No Pasaran, Rosas River. No Pasaran, Eshquit River. No Pasaran, Sulphur Passage.
Wow, that was amazing. It really made me reflect on what happened at Clayoquot Sound, and hopefully we won't fall in the same footsteps right now with Fairy Creek and the Caicos Valley that are really high risk for logging. Hopefully our actions will all show our politicians that we care, and maybe these forests can be saved. So yes. Now,
our final speaker is Talia Collins, who is here to speak on behalf of the frustration that us youth are feeling right now. A dedicated of Our Earth, Our Future, Talia, like many of you, is worried about her future and know that change is urgent.
Should I go?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Talia. I want to say a huge thank you to Vicky, Bryony, Anne, and everyone else who contributed to the strike and our interviews or in giving us the support we needed to put the strike to action. It's been an absolute honor and privilege to work with all of you. I'm getting really frustrated. We all are. I know that I can speak for thousands of citizens of this province when I say that the BC NDP's lack of concern for our future and the future of this planet is sickening. I think that it's safe to assume that if you're here, you're frustrated too. Yours and my future have been put on the back burner for far too long. Our voices are being treated like a murmur in the din of parliamentary decision. Young people have no vote here. We work, many of us pay taxes, we volunteer, and we are constantly given the short end of the stick when decisions are being made on our behalf. John Horgan is 61. In the mere 30 years we have until there are no fish left to take out of the sea, Horgan will be 91. Current middle and high school students will be in their 40s. We will have young children who will ask us what it was like when there were giant creatures living in those vast, soon inhabitable bodies of water. If they ask us why BC's southern resident orca whales have disappeared, it will be us who are forced to explain to them that 30 years ago, the people with the power to make decisions on our behalf did not care about us. They did not care about the youth, nor did they care about their children or their children's children. This is not just about the trees. It's about the spotted owls that are losing precious habitat and are on the verge of extinction. It's about the orca whales that are already starving because the salmon that they feed upon are losing the rivers that they used to breed due to the erosion caused by the logging of ancient forests leading to landslides. It's about the hundreds of living beings within 1 square foot of these forests that are never acknowledged in a short-sighted grab for cash. In the words of one of our speakers, Bryony Penn, our government will claim that they are doing what they need to do to ensure a balance between economic growth and the environment. This is a lie. There is no balance. If there were a balance, 50% of our ancient forests would remain intact, but instead we're fighting with everything that we have to protect the less than 2% that remains. The same government that has yet to declare a climate emergency promised us over 6 months ago to protect the forests that have stood here for centuries longer than white settlers have even been in so-called British Columbia. But this promise has been broken. Over and over, this promise has been ignored, and John Horgan has not even had the decency to speak about it publicly. Yesterday, I spoke one-on-one with John Horgan. He told me that my voice is heard and that they are listening. And yeah, maybe it's true that he can hear us, but if he continues to log these ancient forests, I think that it's a pretty good indicator that he sure as hell is not listening. He spoke of having to make compromise as a politician, but there is no compromise here. I see no balance. When promises are being broken and the forests that have been battled over for decades are still at stake, there is no compromise. I see only betrayal. So I can't help but be furious when we are patted on the heads by lawmakers and the government and told we inspire hope when climate justice is still not delivered. Our generation is in a weird place on the world stage. Raised in a time of climate crisis where every decision will shape our future, yet too young to make decisions. Connected enough to be able to spread and understand the world better, but lost in the size that the world shows us. But if we allow it to be, sorry, I lost where I am. But if we allow it to be, our interconnectivity can be a gift. If we speak on the issues that directly affect us, and we need to speak the truth to power in a way that will make an impact on the world. So often, we mindlessly share devastating news from the USA and speak only on occasion about the problems occurring in our own cities. It's easier. Less research is required. But what we say about the United States matters a whole lot less than what we say about what is happening under our own noses right here on the island. As a generation, we've got to break out of this cycle of performative activism and hold both ourselves and our peers accountable. No amount of petitions we sign can compare in the slightest to frontline activism and organization. To write a letter in our own handwriting and deliver it ourselves will have infinitely more impact than adding our names to a change.org sign-up. It's time to be active. And with that being said, it's time for my rant to come to an end, and we will soon start our letter writing workshop. If you take anything from the spiel I've been on for the past 4 minutes, let it be this. Write from your heart and stick it to the man.
Great job, Talia. I'm so proud of you. Every day you amaze me. Oh my God, you're amazing. So Turns out Bobby is here. So if Bobby, you want to speak, now is your time to shine. We were waiting for you.
Okay, wow, sorry. Yeah, sorry for coming late.
No, that's okay.
Missed some of your rally. I see there's tons of people here. That's awesome. I want to thank all the youth for once again, prioritizing protection of the living planet over a day of school now and again. Your contribution to the movement for climate justice worldwide has been so significant in this town, and just feel really honored that I was asked to come and speak here. I'm coming to you by voice from Lekwungen territories. I've been part of the effort of the Rainforest Flying Squad since last month. Was one of the people who who established a blockade on August 10th into the preventing road building into the headwaters of the unlogged Fairy Creek watershed, which many people by now are aware is the last unlogged watershed on the southern part of the island outside the park system. And it's a place where we have been putting down our foot essentially on the status quo of industrial forestry that is sadly laying waste to approximately 34 soccer fields of productive old growth forest per day on Vancouver Island alone. This is a travesty of monumental proportions that we are all aware of, and that is why we're gathering today. That is why people have been out on the front lines, literally 24/7 for the last 8 months, which is an extraordinary accomplishment. And as we speak, tactical RCMP teams are mobilizing onto Diridat territory, where they're establishing communication overwatch in the vicinity of the Kaikus blockade, which was established 3 weeks ago. A very disciplined group of activists have been holding it down and have sent falling crews away, have been served an injunction that was issued in the BC Supreme Court on April 1st. And we have literally hundreds of people who have mobilized to our front lines, prepared to risk arrest, to defend the last stands of ancient forests. And this is a moment where many of us are feeling a sense of broken hearts at the failure of the BC NDP government to deliver on its election promises at a time when we literally need to keep every single ancient tree on this planet standing, because particularly here in the Pacific Northwest, where the great ancient temperate rainforest that has been reduced to a mere 2% of its original vast expanse over these coastal territories, is probably the ecosystem that plays the most important role in buffering, mitigating against catastrophic climate change. And so now more than ever, it is a travesty for the provincial government to allow the status quo to remain unchallenged despite all its bafflegab, despite all its promises and its foot dragging. And so I implore everyone here who is not yet engaged with the frontline movement to figure out your role. There are many ways to participate, and this today, I believe, is one of them. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And together we can make a difference. We have to continue to push as hard as we can. I was involved in the civil disobedience struggle in the early 90s in the Walburn Valley, in the Cahics, an area that we're still fighting to protect. Where through direct action we were successful in playing a very big role, I believe, in the creation of Carmanah-Walburn Provincial Park, which to this day is the largest protected area of ancient temperate rainforest on southern Vancouver Island. And I scratch my head constantly at the sense of collective déjà vu that we are still having the same conversations that we had 30 years ago. 30 years ago, I remember quite vividly standing in a large rally in support of the people who are at the Walbron, throwing down and, to prevent, 16 kilometers of road building that summer. And we were successful in stopping most of it. And listening to Vicky Husband, who said British Columbia does not have an old growth strategy. British Columbia does not have legislation to protect endangered species. British Columbia does not have legislation to maximize the number of jobs per trees that are cut down. And today, 30 years later, we could still say the same. And I'm wondering what has happened. And what has happened is that we have a government that has been systematically in alignment with the corporate agenda of logging corporations that have been granted cutting permits to vast tracts of stolen indigenous land called tree farm licenses. And those tree farm licenses have legally entrenched a system of industrial forestry that views every single tree that stands in the forest as a viable and justifiable target for extraction. And the Old Growth Strategy Review, the two-person panel that the BC NDP commissioned to look at how we can protect these forests, they identified the core of what I call the collective illness of industrial forestry, which is the view that the forest is nothing else but a source of timber supply. And that we as environmental activists for 30 years have had to fight tooth and nail to justify why anything should be protected, where the onus was never on government industry to justify why and how they should be able to cut down every single tree that is within a so-called tree farm license. This has been a system of resource extractive violence that has become normalized and that has led to the literal elimination of almost an entire ecosystem that contains some of the most magnificent, the largest and the oldest trees, and all the web of life that they sustain and found anywhere on earth. And so this has been a consuming passion for me and my life. And I'm just grateful to be part of a growing community of people who are taking action, who are refusing to accept the normalcy of this system of colonial violence that has been waged against Indigenous peoples and their lands since first contact. And so I want to just put my hands up, a Haichika Siam, a thank you for everyone who's involved in this work, and thank you for hearing me this morning.
Thank you so much, Bobby. That's amazing. I'm very happy that you actually did the close-up speech. It really summed it all up perfectly. I think for the people here that have never heard about old growth forests or that are really new to that concept, that's really important. Listen to what Bobby says. Start getting informed, start getting aware, start taking action, helping the blockaders, supporting everybody who needs the help right now. They desperately need it in every single place, and they're working so hard. All my admiration and my love goes to them. Bobby, you're amazing. The speakers here are so amazing. Vicky, thank you for doing this for basically your whole life. So yes, moving on.
In a minute,
oh yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. In a minute, we will be moving to breakout rooms and to continue the letter writing workshop. This is our time to show our true involvement. Sorry, that's your part. Oops. We would like to take a brief moment to thank all the speakers that took their time from their busy schedule to come and talk to us. So
everybody jazz hands to thank the speakers. They're amazing. We're so lucky to have them here right now. Thank you so much. So right now we are ready to let you guys go get food. Please, 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 I'm pleading you, don't leave the Zoom call. The letter writing part is, oh, right, oh my God, okay, picture. Okay, everybody, can we all turn on your cameras if you feel comfortable being in the picture, and we are going to take a group picture.
Do a peace sign.
Yeah, everybody do a peace sign like the Clockwood Sound people. Okay, who's
Sorry, I have to go through every page, so just hold the pose, guys. Hold the pose. Oh my gosh, I'm seeing so many familiar faces here. This is so fun. Oh, how do I make this go away? Love it. You guys are all so beautiful. Okay, and I think that's all yes, that's all of them. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Don't leave the call.
Okay, wait, so we're gonna be showing different.
There's a couple more things we wanted to say before we close up. There's like a video we were going to show. Do you remember?
Oh, right. Oh my God. Okay, I'm distracted. So, because we want to thank you all the youth activists for making it here. The speakers are amazing. We thank you with all our whole heart. But the youth activists and Mortifi sent us this video that is so adorable, and we thought we'd show it to you to thank you for coming and encourage you to stay for the letter writing part. So, yes.
Good morning. It's 6 o'clock. It's a fabulous day. The sun's coming up over the horizon. And bounced out of bed, and a lot of it has to do with what you guys are about. It's like a resurgence of an energy that was happening in the 60s. We got involved with Greenpeace. We walked with Martin Luther King. We tried to stop the Vietnam War. We threw our bodies in front of the logging trucks, and it's all happening again. And you guys are carrying that mantle. And I just feel so excited about who you are. I feel so excited about what you're doing. I feel this welling up of power coming on because we need to do that. We need to take the stand. And you know, as I've grown older, of course, I've had that feeling of, well, what can I do now? So I'm tucked here doing a lot of writing, but you're out there on the front lines, and I want you to know that I'm thinking about you. And I and lots of other people are thinking about you and cheering you on. Thank you so much for being who you are. That's all I'm making this little video for, is that I cannot suppress the joy and the feeling I'm feeling that you're on the planet and that you're doing all that you can to bring yourselves forward. So blessings to you, blessings to you, blessings to you. From this little island, there's somebody just cheering you on. Have a fabulous day, and I'll see you at the on the Google thing. Okay, bye.
I was muted. Okay, so yeah, I hope that video was encouraging. Yes, we will now show videos that are very interesting too. They were created by Art for Future members and by people that sent videos in to raise awareness. This is